Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever pulled up a financial chart and just felt completely overwhelmed by a confusing, random mess of red and green colored shapes, well, you are exactly in the right place. Today, I'm going to guide you through a quick 7-minute crash course that is designed to completely shift your paradigm. By the end of this, you're going to stop viewing candlesticks as random, unpredictable noise. Instead, you'll start reading them exactly as the market intended, as a dynamic, living, breathing behavioral story of buyers and sellers.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the language of price. Second, the anatomy of a fight. Next, we'll explore the power of context. And finally, thinking like a trader.
All right, part 1, the language of price.
Picture this for a second. You're standing at a really busy, loud stall in a Lahore bazaar. The seller quotes a high price, the buyer pushes right back, haggling it down. By the time they actually strike a deal, you haven't just found out the final price, right? You've witnessed a whole struggle. And honestly, that is exactly what you are looking at on a chart. So the crucial point is that a candlestick is basically just a compressed record of a fight between buyers and sellers. It answers one fundamental question: who won the struggle during this specific window of time? If you can just keep that in mind, those shapes stop feeling like random geometry and start functioning as literal clues to an underlying story.
Now this is where we really need to flip our approach. The old way of learning trading, it's exhausting. It's all about memorizing endless secret codes and dozens of exotic-sounding candle names. We are completely throwing that out. The new way, and really the goal of this entire explainer, is to start reading the chart as a fluid conversation of pressure and response. We want absolute comprehension here, not just rote memorization. We're going to turn price into a language that you can fluently read and understand on the fly.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of a Fight.
I want you to start treating a single candlestick exactly like a tiny short story, complete with a clear beginning, middle, and end. Let's focus on the thickest part first, the body. The body simply shows the actual distance the winner pushed cleanly during that specific time frame. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole concept of commitment. Imagine trying to move a sofa through a doorway. A long, wide candlestick body? That's like carrying that sofa right through without bumping the frame once. The movement was decisive. It was easy. But a really small body? That's like trying to jam that exact same sofa through a doorway that's just a bit too tight. You know, lots of effort, lots of pushing, but the actual progress was hesitant and minimal.
Okay, so what about those thin lines extending above or below the body? Those are called the wicks. Wicks show us exactly where pressure was tested and then ultimately rejected. Think of it like a person trying to reach for an item on a super high shelf. They stretch their hand way, way up, but they just can't hold on to it, so their hand drops back down. You don't just care where their hand ended up resting, you care about how far they had to reach before failing. That is the emotional richness of a candlestick. The wick is the market literally leaving visible evidence on your screen that says, hey, I tried to go there, but I absolutely could not stay there.
We can actually break this whole tug-of-war down using a really simple framework: push, response, and hold. Just think about pushing a door open against a crowded room. You push, that's the body extending. The crowd pushes back, that's the wick showing resistance. And where that door finally ends up resting, well, that's the hold, or where the candle officially closes. It tells you exactly who had better control of the situation when time ran out.
All right, Section 3, the power of context.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because a candlestick's shape only makes sense relative to what came right before it. Think of a human smile. Sometimes it means sheer confidence, right? Sometimes it's nervous hesitation, and sometimes it's just polite formality. The physical shape of the face is identical, but the situation entirely changes the meaning. A single candle is just a sentence. The whole chart is the paragraph. It's like a single frame in a movie. You only know if a character is fiercely attacking or desperately escaping by looking at the frames surrounding it. A candlestick is never just a shape in a vacuum. It has a very specific job to do in the broader narrative.
When we step back and look at that broader narrative, we are generally looking for three things: a continuation, a pause, or a reversal. Now, a massive misconception out there is that a big candle automatically equals a strong market that's going to continue. But market strength is actually about efficiency, not just sheer size. Think about a guy lifting a heavy box. Lifting that box easily when you're fresh, yeah, that's a show of immense strength. But what if you've been lifting boxes all day long and you lift that exact same box, but your arms are shaking and you're completely exhausted? That exact same physical effort actually signals weakness and a potential reversal. Context is absolutely everything.
Let's walk through a practical mini-narrative to see how this actually plays out. Imagine shares on the Pakistan Stock Exchange during a crazy heavy news day. Step 1, positive news breaks, buyers get super excited, jump in and push the price way up early on. The candle body looks huge, very impressive. But then step 2, sellers step in right near the absolute top and fiercely resist the move. Step 3, the market ultimately closes much, much lower than its high, leaving this massive upper wick. This perfectly shows us why the close is the final score. The market tried to go higher, but those higher prices were definitively rejected by the time the bell rang.
And finally, Section 4, Thinking Like a Trader.
So, you have now completed the perspective shift. You are no longer just staring at random colors. You are looking at a real-time behavioral map of human decisions, of expectations, acceptance, and rejection. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it completely changes your approach. The very next time you open up a financial chart, I want you to stop asking, okay, what pattern is this? And instead, ask yourself this one incredibly powerful question. What did the market try to do? And how was it answered? Once you start seeing price as an ongoing conversation of pressure and response, I promise you, you will never look at the market the same way again. So, what conversation is your chart having right now?